Fundamentally, officers are not above the law.
A Portland police officer indicted over protest response.
No matter what happens, we're going to open on June 30th.
A pandemic pledge and a promise to return to normal in Washington.
I did everything I could to prove my innocence.
And an Olympic athlete's frustration over a dinner choice she believes led to her ban. Thanks for joining us here at 11. I'm Brittany Folkers, and we begin with a significant indictment in Portland's protests. It's not a protester facing the law tonight, it's a police officer. Mike Benner looks into the rare move to criminally charge a Portland officer for excessive force.
Video of a protest on the night of August 18th, 2020 shows Portland police officer Corey Budworth chasing down a woman and using his baton to push her from behind. Keep watching and you'll see the officer strike the woman, identified as Terry Jacobs, in the head. Her attorney, Juan Chavez.
Terry's doing better. She had to do some physical therapy, and she's recovered.
Helping matters, Chavez says, is that a grand jury has now indicted Officer Budworth with one count of assault in the 4th degree.
Fundamentally, officers are not above the law. If they've gained that perception, they need to be corrected.
The law applies to everybody.
Multnomah County District Attorney Mike Schmidt cannot get into the details of the case, but he says the grand jury voted Monday, and the single misdemeanor charge was filed Tuesday against Budworth, a 6-year veteran of the Bureau and member of the rapid response team that handles crowd control.
We take our time, we get the facts right, we look at all the evidence, we do the interviews, and we hear from the people who are accused. And at the end of the day, we apply the facts of the case to the law. And in this situation, the grand jury found that this conduct constituted at least probable cause to continue on to trial.
The Portland Police Association could not disagree more. The union representing Portland officers says Budworth used appropriate force to move the independent photojournalist out of the area at a very chaotic and violent time. Part of the union's lengthy statement reads, "Unfortunately, this decorated public servant has been caught in the crossfire of agenda-driven city leaders and a politicized criminal justice system."
It's politically motivated not to indict this officer because what he did was criminal. And if PPA wants to say that this is how he's trained, well, I'm pretty sure then that they trained them to be criminals.
Which might explain why Chavez's client sued the city of Portland in court. The city settled the case for $50,000. But for Chavez and his client, that's simply not enough.
I think he should be held accountable. I don't think he should be patrolling if he clearly doesn't know how to use force and not be a criminal in doing so.
Mayor Ted Wheeler tells us that Officer Budworth has been placed on administrative leave. The mayor goes on to say that he holds members of the Portland Police Bureau to a very high standard and that he's taking this matter very seriously. In the meantime, Portland Police Chief Chuck Lavelle issued a statement saying that PPB remains committed to providing public safety service where personnel respond compassionately and professionally. The chief also says that the Bureau has revamped training and policies, and they continue to look for ways to maintain the community's trust. I'm Mike Benner for KGW News.
New tonight, Salem City Council is planning to commit more than $8 million to tackle its homeless crisis. The city says the move will add 543 shelter beds and help people on the street get access to counseling and health services. Almost half of that allocated money will go towards buying property for shelters. Another portion will extend housing programs for people who are medically fragile or have disabilities. The need in Salem is urgent since the city recently reversed a pandemic policy and started clearing homeless campers from parks. Today, Governor Jay Inslee said no matter what happens, Washington will reopen by June 30th. He reiterated his plan while visiting Vancouver. Catherine Cook reports.
For Washington State, clean energy means jobs.
Washington Governor Jay Inslee was in Vancouver Tuesday. He toured the Port of Vancouver, where last year 3,000 components of wind turbines passed through. It's a point of pride for Inslee.
Very skilled Washingtonians now being the heart and blood and soul and backbone of a clean energy economy that we're building here in the state of Washington.
Besides Washington's clean energy economy, Inslee touched on when Washington itself would reopen after more than a year under strict COVID restrictions.
We all knew that we were going to reopen on June 30th. This is very close. We are just on the 2-yard line here No matter what happens, we're going to open on June 30th. It could be earlier if we hit this 70%.
As it stands, Inslee says Washington is nearly 68% vaccinated for those 16 and older. He also said 98% of people hospitalized in Washington have not been vaccinated.
And this is part of saving lives for a few more weeks till we rely on the vaccine. I'm proud of the work we're doing.
While Inslee underscores June 30th, Oregon Governor Kate Brown has not promised a certain reopening date. However, she too says she'll lift most COVID restrictions once 70% of Oregonians have been vaccinated. Compared to other states, Oregon and Washington have lagged considerably when it comes to lifting COVID restrictions like mask mandates and capacity limits. But it's a course of action Inslee does not regret.
We have saved tens of thousands of lives in our state because we have made decisions based on science and good planning.
Catherine Cook, KGW News.
Researchers at the University of Washington are tracking coronavirus variants. The Delta variant, originally discovered in India and rapidly spreading in the UK, has them concerned.
It has been shown to be associated with increased transmissibility. In the UK, it's actually overtaken the Alpha variant, the B117, and so it's something that we're really concerned about, and we're watching those numbers over time.
So far, the school's virology lab has found 170 cases of the strain in Washington. Researchers say FDA-approved vaccines are still the best available protection against the Delta variant and other strains. Washington made its second vaccine lottery drawing today with more than 200 prizes up for grabs. But the state is still waiting for many of the winners of last week's drawing to come forward. Out of the 248 prizes, 103 were never claimed. The lottery says people are rightfully suspicious. Just this week, the Washington Attorney General's office posted a consumer alert about scams associated with the shot of a lifetime drawing. If your name is drawn, the lottery will only reach out from a 253 or 564 area code. Lottery officials say last week's $250,000 winner did everything right. After he got the call that he was the winner, well, he called the lottery office back directly to confirm that that call was legit. Many of Oregon's mass vaccination sites are closing down now that many people are vaccinated. The convention center and PDX airport clinics will shut down this weekend, and the site in Hillsborough will close later this month. Multnomah County's health officer says one big takeaway is that mass vaccination sites didn't reach marginalized communities.
The initial emphasis on mass vaccination got a lot of people vaccinated, but wasn't as welcoming to people who spoke other languages, for example, or were uncertain about navigating a large site like those.
Dr. Vines says you'll see pop-up vaccine clinics once the max vaccination sites are closed.
Then all of a sudden it's blam, and I thought my bus had exploded.
A TriMet driver who was shot while driving a bus is thankfully expected to make a full recovery. As Joe Ranieri reports, after realizing he was shot, the bus driver's first instincts weren't about himself, but his passengers.
It wasn't personal. He wasn't aiming at the bus. He was just sending random bullets off into the universe to see where they went, and I stopped one.
A 13-year veteran of TriMet, Dale Tozier, was driving a bus on May 22nd along Northeast 102nd Avenue and Halsey when he was shot.
And when everything settled down, I saw the bullet hole right there, and I thought, oh, you've been shot.
Once he realized he was hit, Dale's mindset immediately shifted to his passengers.
I just needed to get everybody off the bus and then take care of myself.
That's exactly what he did. When he was in the Army, he served in the medical unit, and his training kicked right in, and he started administering first aid to his wound.
The first thing you want to know is make sure you're okay, and it's like, okay, didn't hit the lung, no vital organs, obviously didn't hit an artery, so you'll survive. Just slow the bleeding down and don't go into shock.
He had glass fragments in his eye from the windshield when the bullet went into the bus.
Felt my eye from the glass, and my eye was bleeding, and I kind of wiped the blood out of my eye, and I thought, no, you weren't shot there because you'd be dead.
The actual bullet?
Section of my clavicle that's missing, the clavicle stopped the bullet dead, but in the process the clavicle disintegrated, and so it'll have to regrow.
While he won't be getting back behind the wheel anytime soon, he knows he wasn't a target.
The bus was not the target. Yeah, apparently he was shooting at another vehicle or pedestrians, I don't know what. But his bullet just came straight down Halsey and went through my windshield.
Police just released this picture of a black Kia Soul they're calling a vehicle of interest. TriMet is offering a $2,500 reward that leads to an arrest in this shooting. Joe Ranieri, KGW News.